On March 3rd, 2026, the moon turns deep copper red. This is not a faint or subtle event, it's a full blood moon with totality lasting nearly 1 hour. For 58 minutes and 19 seconds, Earth's shadow fully covers the moon. The alignment is precise and the visual impact is striking. But this is not just an astronomical event. This eclipse is part of Saros 133, a series that often coincides with moments when systems reach their limits. And this one falls on the Leo-Aquarius axis, privileged versus regular people, heart versus system, leadership versus network, human cost versus structural control. Welcome back to my channel, Astrobabushka. It's Irina. I am a Vedic astrologer. I apply ancient, more than 3,000 years old knowledge to modern times. I use astrocartography as well. I love implementing tropical astrology, tropical zodiac, fixed stars, asteroids. So this full moon, it's not simply spectacle. It's about exposure. The full event, again, spans about 5.5 hours from first penumbral shadow to final exit. Unlike a solar eclipse, this will be visible to vast portions of the world. The Pacific Rim, North and South America, East and Southeast Asia, Australia and New Zealand. And the central part, and later in the second part of the video, I will show you the major part of the central part of the lunar eclipse will be on the Ring of Fire. And recently I made a video about Mount St. Helens volcano eruption. And what we have now in similarity with that event. So this lunar eclipse will see billions of people. Western Europe and most of Africa will not. This distribution is symbolically significant. The Americas and Pacific region are directly within the eclipse night zone. During totality, the moon will not disappear, but it will glow red, ranging from copper to brick. Beautiful event. The exact shade depends on Earth's atmosphere, including dust, aerosols, and volcanic particles. Whenever the eclipse will be fully visible, these parts of the world will have more effect. Sunlight bends through the atmosphere, projecting red wavelengths onto the lunar surface. So the visible effect is filtered light. How about filtered, censored truth? The moon is eclipsed in Purva Phalguni. The nakshatra governs the moment after exhaustion, but before renewal. Its symbol is bed or hammock or resting couch. Normally, this is not about laziness. It's about recovery and good quality rest. Purva Phalguni teaches that life requires rest, intimacy, warmth. Creation pauses at this stage, and vitality is restored. However, when distorted, this energy can lead to indulgence, entitlement, or distraction. Where has pleasure replaced responsibility? Question mark. Where has comfort become avoidance? Question mark. When the privileged took over and overindulge? Question mark. This eclipse compels us to consider these questions, if you haven't yet, so based on current events. There's another side to it. Purva Phalguni represents relaxation and comfort. And where are we collectively now, just days after striking news from the Middle East? We are on the opposite side of comfort. Stock market is volatile. Prices on oil and gas are rising. We are in the unknown zone. We're still in the Shula yoga, and I made a post about this recently on my YouTube and on my Substack. Purva Phalguni is ruled by Venus, and in the chart of the lunar eclipse, Venus is exalted and strengthened, although we have Saturn and Neptune over there. Overall, exalted Venus requires that love be functional, alliances mature, and beauty serve life rather than conceal decline. Again, Venus is afflicted by Saturn, and they just recently had full exact conjunction. They're still very close to each other. So what is Venus being so majorly afflicted? So this eclipse does not eliminate comfort. It tests its resilience. It asks what should stay and what is not necessary anymore. Now, a fixed star Zosma is present near eclipsed moon. And this star is on the back of the constellation of Lion. It's not the crown of Leo, but it's on the spine. It's a backbone. In myth, Hercules defeated the Nemean lion by crushing its body. Not striking the head, but breaking the back. What we see now, it's the opposite. In the Middle East, the strike was supposedly to the head and not to the back. So this is something that needs to be, investigated and researched thoroughly. Zosma symbolizes strength, quiet strength, and unseen support. When the back breaks, the strongest creature falls. Traditionally, Zosma carries a Venus-Saturn tone, and Venus and Saturn are together now in the same house. So, social suffering, burden, humiliation followed by moral recognition. This star appears in the charts of caregivers, institutional workers, and those whose labor is invisible but essential. When an eclipse touches Zosma, collective suffering becomes visible. Who has been carrying the weight all this time? Who absorbs the strain so the system continues? Who has been silenced because they are inconvenient? Zosma reveals the cost of sustaining power. Now consider the opposite side of the axis. Sun is near Haidor in Canis Major. Star Haidor has been recently in my radar, specifically mid-December. So Haidor is endurance under command. Also, Haidor is about disastrous storms. But back to the structural meaning. It's about discipline. It's about loyalty to structure. This star carries a Saturn-Mercury quality. It's a mental control, it's operational intelligence, it's institutional obedience. Again, in mid-December, Rahu was conjuncting Haidor right before protests erupted in Iran. And look where we are now. Now Sun conjuncting the same star. And the Sun is symbol of authority. And it's all happening in Nakshatra Satabhisha, 100 healers. This nakshatra linked to systems, to networks, to containment. So this creates a clear polarity. Moon near Zosma, the burdened spine, and Sun near Haidor, the machinery that keeps functioning no matter what. This represents the emotional self confronting a system that persists regardless of cost. At its highest expression, Haidor represents ethical discipline. At its lowest, blind obedience. So this eclipse, as I can see, possesses a direct question. Does the system still serve life, or is life being sacrificed to preserve the system? The eclipse belongs to Saros 133, a series that began in 1557 and continues until 2819. So it repeats every 18 years and 11 days. And inside this family, total eclipses span from 1917 to 2278. So we are deep inside that total phase. Historically, Saros 133 does not signal about dramatic endings or beginnings, but it initiates audit. February 1990, Cold War authority quietly disintegrates. February 2008, this is the last two Saros, financial architecture fractures. Bear Stearns collapses 1 month later. In both cases, insiders knew before the public did. The series highlights structural strain before it is officially acknowledged. It operates like a recurring inspection. In practical terms, what we can expect. First of all, institutional legitimacy pressure. Second, information conflict. Third, alliance reshuffles. Fourth, economic exposure of hidden cost. And last but not least, public morale reaching a threshold. Leo versus Aquarius brings human worth versus bureaucratic necessity, charisma versus algorithm, leadership myth versus network control. Let's just not see it as a chaos for its own sake. It's a matter of consequence of events. So on March 3rd, 2026, the moon turns red. Please try to avoid looking at it. It's been proved that it can actually disturb the psyche and psychological stability. So for nearly 1 hour, the shadow is complete. And what has been carried in silence comes into view. Zosma asks who bears the weight once the backbone of system is broken. Haidor asks who keeps enforcing the structure. And Purva Phalguni asks its final question. Purva Phalguni is the seed of pleasure, of privilege, and royal ease. It speaks of those who once held power, who enjoyed comfort, who lived as prince under protection. When that privilege is misused, when authority is taken as entitlement, the reckoning is not loud. It's inevitable. Those who abused position must now answer for it. This star also governs rest, enjoyment, and the soft places of life, yet the collective sense of comfort has been shaken. Events in the Middle East have stripped away illusions of stability. What felt secure no longer feels untouched. So the question stands, where is our comfort zone anymore? Is it still alive? During this blood moon, once something is seen, it cannot be unseen. And in this part of the video, I will open my chapter from the book. The first chapter of the book is on Amazon, and whoever get the copy, I will give at least 50% discount for the full version once it is ready. Now, what I want to start with is that there's a conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan recently started. Or restarted. And so in my solar eclipse chapter, it is already stated. So I published it a long time ago. So the eclipse, solar eclipse, was falling in the 11th house, forming tight square to Rahu. And there's a financial stability and national values collide with alliance pressures and collective demands. Also, Rahu period amplify instability, exaggeration, and foreign entanglements, with Mars Mahadasha active tension involving borders, communication, and regional conflicts are emphasized. This is a high volatility configuration for currency, internal security, and diplomatic posture. And the conflict started. So Mars in the 3rd house of neighbors, it activated that configuration. Now, what I want to add to my main message from lunar eclipse for the lunar eclipse video is that if you open, I just want to show you visually the whole map of the eclipse. And it's obvious that the major part of it is basically ring on fire. Now, what I didn't mention in my main video, main part of that, in the exact same degree, partial lunar eclipse was visible in China. Partial. Now it's a full. It's total. March 3rd, 1654, and it was an earthquake that was called Tianshui. About 4 months after March lunar eclipse in July, a powerful quake struck Gansu province in China, and it had magnitude 7.0, destroyed city walls, buildings, temples, and reportedly killed 30,000 people. Now, current eclipse is full. And so again, that just brings me to the same area of my concern that I already mentioned in my previous videos regarding that. Now I will go over countries. The Iran is specifically not so much included, the Iranian chart. Although, yes, here we see that direct activation of national identity and public posture, emotional and symbolic responses outweighed tactical ones. This is the meaning of the lunar eclipse for chart of Iran. But I did it before the whole thing started. I think this was written even before the protests started. So we can see that national identity and public posture definitely activated. So that is interesting to see, because I made it a few months ago. So I will just go over whatever I did a few months ago. So United States have exact degree lunar eclipse activation. So we have a disruption to internal functioning, labor, health systems, daily governance. Uranus here describes shocks that arise from routine systems rather than foreign threats. And the current Uranus transit line running through Los Angeles, San Francisco, it's more closer to Arizona, I believe. So all those states have are in sensitive zones. So there can be unrest, but there can be also the sparks of some new ideas of innovation, of technology breakthrough. And again, heightened seismic activity possible, another clue. So we will see how it will go. So United States inauguration chart with a lunar eclipse shows expansion under constraint, economic confidence. Again, it was done before even the protest started. Fall 2025. So ideological positioning, phase correction, growth promises meet material limits. Important to note here that natal Uranus aligns closely with the natal Jupiter in inauguration chart. So 4 years of presidency starting 2025 January. Uranus will be active, and I stated it multiple times, and I will state it again. Again, it intensifying unpredictability. China national chart show high stakes exposure of power, sources, and dependency relationships, stress test on alliances, control mechanism, and long-term obligations. Well, yes, because considering the situation now on Middle East, on the regarding the shipping, the oil, and everything, it's all now under big question how it's going to go from now on. So recent inauguration chart shows strategic communication become central. Decisions are highly visible and carefully managed. So there will be no mistakes from China this period. Now, Palestine have, again, more than 1 degree activation. Palestine activates almost everywhere. So I don't know what is the situation right now there. But we can see that rivalries, negotiations, information warfare, all this can be activating. Now, with the Board of Peace and with uncertainty around how this Board of Peace will be working now within current framework and within current situation, because all the focus of the United States will be on the Middle East. And Donald Trump just mentioned that the whole operation Epic Fury will be on for at least 4 to 5 weeks. Based on my first and initial analysis of Iranian chart, it can be very long, but once we have the new chart of the new supreme leader, there can be some adjustment done. Again, I think in May there I see high, very strong indication for Shah becoming or like any new political system coming into force, into place in Iran, but we will see. But if they're gonna make inauguration or like supreme leader will be chosen within next few days, it's gonna be very hard on the United States, because it's gonna be within lunar eclipse. It's gonna be with so many strong positions and not favorable for the chart of the United States. Russia. I have one of the chart of the amendments that were done for the Constitution, and I see that sometimes it start to like give some clues. So we can see there's a configuration of the lunar eclipse that gives support to internal narrative control and continuity rather than destabilization. So in Australia, multiple reference charts that I use shows legal foundations, sovereignty narratives, and leadership authority are activated simultaneously. No crisis, but reassessment. Japan. There's a pressure on a national identity through external relationship. There can be security treaties, alliances, and public posture in the sensitive zone. For Jamaica, one of the recent major storms were activating Jupiter, and right now with the lunar eclipse, it's again activating the same Jupiter in the natal chart that is ruler of the fourth house. So we might expect some, heightened again vulnerability related to infrastructure, weather, and public services. We will see. Poland. Poland leadership is under pressure. Iran, I already said. In Cuba, public mood, leadership, visibility, and external reputation face stress and exposure, and we already know that they are in the very difficult position and they're waiting for help from, countries that were historically helping. So both Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran, they have one thing in common, except the fact that I discovered that there's a moon very strong in Taurus in all these charts, in that represents people and the country, the people of the country, but also they all share the same friends. I mean, country friends, Russia and China. And USA deliberately choose them, and not for nothing, obviously. In Hungary, there's a election is coming for the current president. But this current lunar eclipse shows that, shows support rather than, compared to regional peers. Now, we have, I made a lunar eclipse chart for Washington, for Tehran, and for Tel Aviv. So obviously they're in the same zone, so they got the same chart, except the divisional charts will be different. But for the time's sake, I will not go over too deep. Let's start with Washington chart. And I just want to mention that, lunar eclipse, it does have a power. It will be effective for the at least next 6 months. Mostly lunar eclipse will be affecting people, daily life, mood, psychological tone of the country. I will be doing another video about Shukla Pratipada. It's a sidereal lunar new year when Sun and Moon together in Pisces, in sidereal Pisces. And this chart deserves special attention because it's effective specifically for mundane predictions, for geopolitical predictions. And here we have very tense conjunction of Mercury and Rahu, same degree. So first and foremost, distortion of information will be on and up and running for the whole year, starting March 2026, and by till the next March 2027. And obviously for different countries, for different capitals, it can mean different things. But overall, this is something very notable. Now, it is going to be in a different video. So now Washington. Oh. So for Washington, we have Sun and Moon on the axis second, which are
treasury, currency, food supply, resources, public confidence as well. So we have Sun with Haidor and Rahu here, and Moon with Ketu and Zosma in the 8th house. Zosma is all about sacrifice, exposure of weakness. It is also collective victim narratives. And by sitting in the 8th house for Washington and for the United States, we can draw the conclusion that public emotion will be drawn toward hidden liabilities, toward secrets, toward classified matters, financial entanglements. And 8th house is also considered to be connected with cosmos, with everything hidden, with everything very far in the sky and very far inside the ground, underground. So UFO secret information will be as Trump promised, probably this is what is what's here the indication. Sun here with Haidor. Haidor is not good star, so we can expect liquidity issues. We can expect draining or redirecting resources. Moral questions will be up and running around how wealth is managed, how money is managed. Right now, I'm making a research paper and I'm on the 15th page. Something about Pluto being out of bounds, and it's something I found something very unique. I haven't seen anyone speaking about this yet in astrological community, astrology community, but for the Washington, Pluto is in the 1st house in 1 second, but for Tehran and for Iran, Pluto is in the 7th house of war. So they're in mirror each other. These two charts of Washington lunar eclipse and Iran lunar eclipse, they are mirroring each other. So whatever we have here, or United States have in the head, we have a Pluto intense planet. They have in the 7th house of war. We need to mention Uranus here. Uranus is a big player always. And for the Washington, it's in the 5th house. 5th house is stock markets. It's speculations. It's digital currency. It's military risk calculation. It's strategic theater. Also, 5th house is the territory that are it's not neighboring territories, but it's territories that, because it's 3rd house from the 3rd house. So it's a disputes about territories in the neighboring countries. This, by the way, can also be connected with USA embassies all over the world. So Uranus disrupts, and as we've seen in the news, there's been multiple attacks towards USA bases, especially Middle East, right? So the volatile signature for the next 6 months again of while the eclipse will be active. 5th house is also a house of leadership, so we can see instability, disruptive decisions, policy execution, sudden recalibrations, change of plans, total unpredictability, the unknown zone. Now let's open the chart for Tehran, and for Iran it will be the same. Oh, sorry, for Tel Aviv, for Israel. And so we have here complete opposite, right? So we have a mirrored situation with USA chart, lunar eclipse chart. We have Sun in the 8th house and Moon in the 2nd house. So while the Rahu and amplifier bringing resources into the 2nd house of the Washington, Moon and Ketu is cutting away, taking away. It's taking away resources, money from the 2nd house of both charts, Tehran and Tel Aviv. Ascendant here we have in Cancer, Pushya, that is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is in the 9th house, in conjunction with Neptune and star Shiat, star of mourning, star of disasters, star of destruction. So financial security here becomes diminishing, lowering, emotional, and public, because Moon is public. Public obviously feel this loss of stability first and foremost. There's a vulnerability around currency, food supply, everything that war and conflict brings to the country. Sun in the 8th house with Haidor, meaning leadership, navigating through hidden terrain, intelligent networks, all the secret networks as well. Also debt mechanism, how the money moves. So the money moves from the 2nd house to the 8th house and to the pockets of this chart. At least that's what chart tells me. Now, Pluto in the 7th house, obviously, open war. There's nothing else here to say. Saturn and Neptune conjunction together in the 9th house of foreign policy, religious authority, international law. And here we have complete restructuring of those matters. Together with Tel Aviv and Iran, they all carry the same signature of deep restructuring of ideology. So belief systems under pressure, and all that. Uranus in the 11th house squaring Moon and Sun. 11th house is networks, alliances, and here Uranus will bring destabilization to support networks, destabilization to trade relationships. Again, wild card, it can be anything. Anything can happen. And in this part of the video, I will go over all rising signs. I haven't finished some of my yearly prognosis, but what I will do, whatever I have already in the record, I will just play the record, and whatever I have, whatever I didn't make the video, I will simply read it to you. For Aries rising, total lunar eclipse happening in your 5th house. So it brings culmination and release in the topics of the 5th house. Something reaches emotional fullness and then can change shape. In the 5th house, it can play out around creativity, creative projects, love, romance, children,
personal pride, joy, and you know, the need to leave a mark, to leave something behind you. Purva Phalguni is all about pleasure, attraction, vitality, the right to enjoy life, and it can be disrupted during this lunar eclipse. When lunar eclipse occurs here, feelings tied to these areas in life can intensify, you know, phase a culmination, a transformation, and then they can shift. For Aries rising, this can mark an emotional turning point around a love story, some creative project or relationship with a child. Something that has been building slowly before that moment can ask for your acknowledgement. You need to face something regarding those areas of life. This is total lunar eclipse. It's full, it's long, and you know, emotions run strong. But these emotions, they can reveal something that was sitting very deep, on a very deep level. This eclipse is very strongly tied to your identity. The fifth house is where the sun expresses itself personally, fully. And remember that the sun is ruler of this year. And what happens here affects confidence, it affects self-expression. It's more than just, you know, some external status. After this eclipse, you know, creative projects, emotional bonds, all this can face dramatic changes. But the good news that whatever stays with you, that's mean it's truly yours, it's very real, and it's not just superficial and performative. Lunar eclipse in Leo, Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, and for Taurus rising, this falls in your fourth house. The fourth house is about home, family, emotional security, and your inner foundation. It represents the place you return to when the world feels too loud. And the total lunar eclipse here brings something to completion. Emotions that have been pushed aside or managed, you know, without respect can surface. So something can reach its limit, and you may realize that you cannot carry a certain feeling or situation the same way anymore. The sign Leo is all about pride and identity, and it wants to feel seen and wants to be valued. Purva Phalguni is connected to comfort, to pleasure, to attachment, to warmth and familiarity. And when an eclipse hits this point, it asks, is this comfort is really healthy, or it's overindulgence? Because lunar eclipse follows the solar eclipse in your 10th house and overlaps with this Mars and Rahu tension, there is a definitely larger picture here. So we have axis of career and home activated, and public pressure meets private consequences. You cannot keep pushing in your professional life if your emotional base is unstable and not checked. All this has to be balanced out. So these eclipses are not obviously about drama. It's asking you to be truthful to yourself about what feels safe, what only looks safe, and you know, all this connection to your public image. Does it support it, or it's draining it? Gemini. For Gemini, total lunar eclipse in Leo and Purva Phalguni, activating your 3rd house. So the topics of culmination and release, culmination, transformation, and release. So something reaches its peak regarding communication, decisions, short distance travel, can be some projects, some intellectual projects, can be media activity, something that is day to day, your immediate environment, neighbors. So Leo brings the themes of voice, recognition, everything comes to life, comes to light. And Purva Phalguni adds topics of desire, enjoyment, need to feel alive through expression. And together they point to how and why you speak, why you initiate certain things, how you assert yourself. It can mark the end of particular way of communicating, words that you were using, a tone that you have used, a role that you have played, or a narrative that you have carried may suddenly feel not real, false, not authentic, exhausting, draining your energy. So conversations that were avoided for some time can surface. Messages that were held back may finally be delivered. So 3rd house is also the house of courage, charisma, and it can be also a decisive mental shift taking place. You may stop trying to convince someone in something, you may stop explaining yourself, or you may finally claim the right to speak without someone's permission. So matters involving siblings, neighbors, documents again, media projects, all can reach some culmination point. Also think about this eclipse as something that is clearing the space in mind. It can remove the noise, some not necessary thoughts. You can get rid of mental clutter during this eclipse. You can get rid of unnecessary, this constant critical voice inside your head. And we have next eclipse, which is lunar eclipse on March 3rd. It is a total lunar eclipse in sidereal Leo in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, activating your 2nd house. A lunar eclipse brings culmination and exposure. In the 2nd house, this centers on money, family, ties, speech, values, and self-worth. What has been building quietly around security reaches visibility. Something must be acknowledged, named, or released. Purva Phalguni carries themes of enjoyment, entitlement, generosity, and attachment to comfort. Under a total lunar eclipse, excesses become obvious, so does depletion. For Cancer rising, this can manifest as a moment of reckoning around spending, dependence on family resources, or the emotional weight carried through obligations. Because this eclipse occurs while Mars and Rahu are active in the 8th house, 2nd house matters are not isolated. Income, savings, or family expectations may be directly tied to shared finances, debts, or power dynamics with others. What looks like a personal value issue often traces back to entanglement. So speech is another significator of the 2nd house. So all about speech, words is highlighted. So words spoken during a lunar eclipse in the second house have consequences. Old resentments may surface. Truths that were softened before may come onto outroad, and this is not a time for dramatic declarations. The purpose of this eclipse will be clarification of the second house themes. It can reveal what truly supports you and what only imitates security, and where you asked for too much of support. Once seen clearly, adjustments follow naturally over the next few months. So this eclipse asks a simple but uncomfortable question. What do you really own? And what has been costing you more than you admitted?
Leo rising, this eclipse falling in your first house. This is very personal, this is very visible. It brings culmination and release into the areas of the first house, your personality, how people see you, your image, your body image, your identity, the role you play in the world. All this can come to very strong light. You are standing on the main stage. You're playing the main role now. So Purva Phalguni Nakshatra carries themes of desire, pleasure, creativity, personal magnetism. And, it's how freely you allow yourself to live. First lunar eclipse can hit hard, but then, old versions slowly fade away. It can be actually useful to get rid of old masks, of old roles. Now, something about how you see yourself also will change. It can be an old habit or, way you seeked validation. It will all feel not useful anymore for you. So this eclipse mirrors earlier solar eclipse across the relationship axis in the 7th house. And then there's a clear message to you. Partnerships can reset. Some contracts with, business partners can change. All this, like how you relate in old way, is not going to be here anymore. This is sort of a closing chapter for Leo risings, especially considering that Ketu is leaving your first house finally in November 2026. So taking away and stripping away everything that is not necessary anymore.
Next eclipse follows on March 3rd. It is a total lunar eclipse in Leo in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, falling in your 12th house. Lunar eclipses are more about release. They bring culmination, emotional closure, and the draining away of something that has already run its course. In 12th house, this process can be hidden, quiet, but it doesn't mean that it's not profound. For Virgo rising, this eclipse will touch themes of withdrawal, rest, loss, solitude, and the unconscious. Something slips out of reach, not because it was taken, but because it no longer belongs in your life. This can involve exhaustion, private disappointment, hidden attachment, or an identity tied to sacrifice. Purva Phalguni is about enjoyment, comfort, and the right to pleasure. And in the 12th house, it often reveals where pleasure has turned into escape, or where giving too much has come at a private cost. The eclipse exposes emotional fatigue that has been ignored. Leo will add this
theme of ego and recognition, a need to be seen, appreciated, or validated, can actually be dissolved here. The 12th house will teach that not everything in your life needs an audience. And this eclipse pair strongly with the earlier 6th house, activation. It's all about service. It's all about surrender. What drains you invisibly must be released. The best response is to have a space, to sleep, to have your moment of silence, to distance from noise, to get a time away from pressure. All this can help. This is March 3rd, and it's total lunar eclipse in Leo, Purva Phalguni nakshatra, falling in the 11th house for Libra. Lunar eclipse brings culmination and exposure. Something reaches its limit and can no longer be sustained in the same form. In the 11th house, this plays out through friendships, through alliances, through audiences, professional networks, long-term goals. Leo and Purva Phalguni nakshatra place emphasis on recognition, on loyalty, on personal pride within collective spaces. And this eclipse highlights where you give energy in exchange for validation, for approval, or for a sense of belonging. A group dynamic, friendship, or professional association may reveal its true nature. Power imbalances surface. Emotional truths that were easy to ignore become obvious. And because it's total eclipse, the effect is strong and visible. You may step away from a goal that once motivated you, or realize that particular circle no longer reflects who you are becoming. In some cases, a leadership role ends or changes shape. In others, the need to be seen gives way to a need for authenticity.
Scorpio. For Scorpio, it is happening, a lunar eclipse, happening in the 10th house. 10th house is all about career, reputation, leadership, long-term direction. And this lunar eclipse brings the culmination for these topics. Some projects can end, some professional roles may change. How other people see you can change. And the Purva Phalguni asks a very direct question. Are you performing, or this is who you truly are? Your public image is who you truly believe to be yourself. Status and comfort are weighed against the meaning. So total lunar eclipse should bring clarity. After initial hit, illusions will drop. Don't forget that emotions runs high now, so just wait a little bit, few days. Don't make any drastic changes. This eclipse connects directly back to the 4th house, the solar eclipse in the 4th house, home, career. And so here we see that the balance between home, career, and inner foundation and inner security needs to be found with your public posture, with your public standing.
For Sagittarius rising, it can activate all the topics that has been active already in the beginning of the year, right? It's your belief systems, it's a long distance travel, teachers, mentors, and something reaches here fullness and cannot be ignored anymore. Also 9th house is of father figures. So it is also worldview, it is also law, it is also ethic, and the meaning you assign, being assigned to different life events. So Purva Phalguni carries the themes of enjoyment, loyalty, creative commitment, and the right use of pleasure and authority. So it can ask whether joy is aligned with your values or whether it has become performative or empty. You may feel a shift in faith, not necessarily like a religious faith, but maybe some other type of it. A teacher, a mentor, or a guiding idea may fall away or reveal its limitations. At the same time, a new philosophy can emerge, shaped by a lived experience rather than just dry theory. And because the eclipse is total, the effect is very strong. Emotions may peak around questions of justice, truth, and purpose. Travel plans, legal matters, education paths, or publishing projects can reach a culmination and or turning point. So the eclipse works in dialogue with the earlier Aquarius solar eclipse, Ring of Fire. So one reset the mind and voice, and the other reshape your belief and meaning. And together they ask whether what you think, say, and pursue is authentic.
Capricorn rising. This eclipse, total lunar eclipse in Leo, Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, falls in 8th house. 8th house is a deep waters. It's deep eclipse. It brings culmination and exposure to the topics that like to be in the dark. They like to stay in the dark, and this can feel disruptive. 8th house, in the 8th house, the energies work through loss of control, emotional intensity. It can be resurfaced, something that was buried or postponed long time ago. Purva Phalguni linked to pleasure, to attachment, to comfort, to expectations of ease, and when eclipse here, it withdraws comfort rather than offering it. And what 8th house represents, it's also shared finances with spouse. It's debts, it's taxes, it's inheritances. It can be also psychological dependence. All this reach a turning point from now on for the next 6 months. This eclipse also follows Mars Rahu pressure on the 11th house. So it can trigger from the others, from the networks, from the bigger social circle. A decision made by a partner or institution or a group or authority figure will force the adjustment inside the 8th house themes. So also think about power dynamics. Who holds leverage? Who carries the risk? Who pays the hidden cost? For Capricorn, this eclipse will close a chapter related to fear-based attachment. And Aquarius, the eclipse, total lunar eclipse in Leo, Purva Phalguni, falling in the 7th house for Aquarius rising. So this eclipse will complete the polarity activated by the February solar eclipse in your 1st house. So your identity, the relationships with others, all stand face to face. What began internally now meets an external mirror. 7th house, again, it's partners, it's business clients, it's contracts, it's opponents, it's a public reflection of who you are. And something culminating here, something being exposed here. Feelings that were held back
can surface. Relationship dynamics will reach a turning point. And something that was not healthy in that areas will be impossible to ignore. It will see the light. Purva Phalguni carries themes of pleasure, attraction, power exchange, desire, comfort, rest, good quality rest. And under total eclipse, all these themes are stripped of decoration. They're not present. What is based on comfort alone and indulgence will be weakened. So because the eclipse follows the Mars-Rahu conjunction in your first house, interactions can feel sharp or confrontational. Some relationships can end in the next few months, but others will transform into more healthy, workable form. So it's all about recalibration. Any partnership that cannot tolerate your emerging new direction will begin to fracture here.
Next eclipse follows on March 3rd, and it is total lunar eclipse in Leo in Purva Phalguni. For Pisces rising, this takes place in the 6th house. A lunar eclipse brings culmination and exposure. It's very emotional for us people. Something reaches fullness and cannot be ignored anymore. In the 6th house, this concerns work conditions, health patterns, obligations, conflicts, and the daily systems that keep life running. Leo brings the theme of pride and visibility. Purva Phalguni adds desire, enjoyment, and personal comfort. Under a lunar eclipse, these qualities are tested. The question becomes simple and uncomfortable. What are you giving your energy to every day? And is it worth the cost? The eclipse can surface exhaustion, imbalance, or tension in work relationships. It may highlight where ego interferes with efficiency, or where loyalty to routine has turned into quiet self-neglect. Health signals tend to speak clearly now, especially if they have been ignored or avoided. Because this follows a 12th house solar eclipse, the sequence matters. First comes withdrawal and release, and then comes correction. What was hidden becomes visible through symptoms, through tasks or conflicts that demand adjustment. For Pisces rising, this is not about punishment, but it's about where and how should I recalibrate? The 6th house responds well to practical change. So small, consistent adjustments made here prevent larger crises later. This eclipse completes the corridor internal logic. So letting go in the 12th house makes it possible to function better in the 6th. What drains you in silence, behind closed doors, eventually shows itself in daily life.
I hope you enjoyed this video. So I went over lunar eclipse. I went into the details. I made a lunar eclipse charts for Washington and Middle East, 2 countries. And then I went over rising signs. I went over some countries and what this eclipse can mean to those countries. I am offering you to join my Substack. It's free. I publish all interesting, like whenever I do the deep research type of videos, I always make a complimentary post with all the details and all the basis for my analysis there. So if you are interested into the technical details of prognosis and analysis, you can follow me there. Also, you can subscribe to my newsletter
I send it once a month. See you in the next videos. Bye.